Well, hey guys, this is Joanne Ray with Senior Marketing Specialist, and this is A Human Connection. I have been extraordinarily blessed over my career to meet some really fascinating and successful people, and I get to now bring those conversations to you. So I hope that we can all learn and grow from each other. I hope you enjoy. Well, hey guys, this is Joanne Ray with another edition of A Human Connection. And today I am extremely honored to be able to bring to you a conversation that this gentleman and I have had hundreds of conversations over the years at different events. But I think today is probably going to be my favorite simply because we get to talk about you and not necessarily Medicare, MAPD, AEP,
Yes.
rollouts, carriers, products, Medicare, training, all that good stuff. So would love for everybody to meet. If you have not met yet, this is Ryan Kimble, President, CEO of Agent Pipeline. So
Thank you, Joanne.
how are you?
I'm great. So I'm obviously very curious. You know, you asked me to be on, and it's a human connection. And the things you mentioned are the things that I'm actually good at talking about. Whatever we're going to talk about, I'm a little bit concerned because those things may not become as easy to me.
No Medicare talk today for the next 30 minutes. No Medicare talk.
No building distribution. No,
building just. Oh my
no
God,
connecting people.
That's just fascinating too. We might get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
But
okay.
For everybody that's listening that isn't familiar with your background and why don't you? I always like to start with a little bit of your story, where you came from, how you got into this business. I know it's a family business, so I want to get in and talk a lot about that and the different members of your family. But tell everybody a little bit about your bio.
So family business for sure. My dad made me get licensed in 1996, and so made me is definitely the wrong word.
That was strong.
I got licensed in 96. Before that, and I graduated high school in 94. So as really a sophomore, junior in college, he was like, "Why don't you come work for me?" And I was working at a putt place at the time. So I was, I made my way up to manager. And so his deal was, you need to get your insurance license. So I did. And thankfully passed the test on the first try, which was great. I felt like I failed it after I took it. But got licensed in 96, graduated college in 98, and then started full-time for him in 98. And at that point, my dad had created this company, and it was called Integrated Benefits. And it was a individual medical, group medical distribution company that worked in West Virginia and the surrounding states. And he had basically gone from nothing to building out this incredible brokerage agency that I was fortunate enough that he invited me in. So it worked out great. And
what'd you start off doing?
Well, so the funny thing is I started running quotes. So back then we didn't have, we had one computer, and you got a stack of index cards, which is where the agents would call in, name, address, male, female, smoker, non-smoker, zip code. And I would run these insurance quotes. And probably the first week after I'd already run them, I went to one of the ladies that worked there, and I said, well, what's this checkbox on each one of these index cards? And she was like, we've already run these. We're just checking to see if you're doing them right. So I was this whole week I was running all these quotes and trying to do them, and it was this interesting dynamic. It was so test, or it was like, let's just keep him busy. So yeah. So that was the first thing I did.
It's like when your son gets of a certain age and you just want to keep him busy, you have him move this pile of rocks from over here to over here.
Over there. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. There's no reason to be lazy. You got to work at doing something.
Exactly.
So so that's how I got in, and we were doing individual medical and group for agents primarily in West Virginia at that time. And he basically said, "I want you to do the same thing in Ohio." So I went up to Ohio for a year trying to do that, and then we got into what's called the senior market, and so that was the fun part of getting into Medicare and understanding what that is, and then trying to build that out, build distribution, and that's how we got everything to where it is today. So it's been fun. I don't know how deep you want to go. So
we'll keep coming back. We'll keep building on it. We'll keep building on that. So the very first time I heard your name, Ryan Kimble, was in 2005, right? Yeah, I think 2005 in a big way. I knew of you before, obviously, but the first time I think we worked together was in 2005 when the Medicare Advantage PDP first came out.
Yeah.
We were one of the first to be able to have the Pacificare, which later became United Healthcare product. And so part of our instruction was we had to go around, and at that time, and I always tell this to our young staff because they just get a huge kick out of how this all started. Certification and testing was literally, you had to be done in person. And not only did you have to do it in person, you had to fill out the test on paper, turn it in to your said instructor, which was one of us.
Sure.
And then you had to fly that or ship that or FedEx that back to the office. Mary here in our office would literally go through and grade the papers
Yeah.
and then send it off to United Healthcare or Pacificare at the time, so that we could show that you have truly been certified and understood that product. So I think you and Dan and Dave and some others literally flew how many different states all over the country those first 2 or 3 years doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was an interesting dynamic in time because you had this new product opportunity, which was Part D, and that's what we thought would be the big thing initially, and then kind of got, we leveraged private fee for service. But you had this dynamic where you had a national product, but at the same time, you really had regional distributors of product.
Yep.
And as I think back and like, how did all of this kind of fall into place, and how did we all grow the way we did?
Yeah.
It was because everybody was getting out of their state. Everybody was moving out to all these states to promote product. And we had done it for Medicare supplements a couple of years before. But the first few years, if you were not on a plane every week going to some city to educate, train, and try to support agents in the Medicare or Part D space, like that was the deal. And it was fun. It was busy. And a lot of nights I remember calling you saying, Joanne, I don't have my 3-ring binders. I don't have any information.
We're not ready for tomorrow.
Yeah. And I would spend all night copying, 50 copies at the hotel printer behind the main desk, trying to get things ready for the next day. So yeah, fun times. That was the building period. And I think, not to get too deep into it, but for us, I'm out of West Virginia. So, for us to be successful, we had to get outside of West Virginia only because the state offers a set amount of opportunity. And then we were able to grow in other markets and other states, still be West Virginia based. And it gave us an opportunity to diversify our footprint and also diversify our carrier footprint, because we needed all these other carriers for all these other markets. And I think the converse is, if you were in Florida, Texas, or Pennsylvania, or these other big states, man, you really could work within your state boundaries and write a ton of business and have just the carriers that were important in those markets. And so I think even though it was a hurdle initially, it became this very valuable piece to our growth story, is that we had to do it. And so it's worked out great. We've been happy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think if we go back and look at our trajectory from, 1995 when we started the brokerage to today, probably the biggest jolt in everything. Number of states we were in, number of carriers we represented, number of agents in our hierarchy, number of staff we needed was from 2005 on. For sure. For that reason, because it was such more of a complex product line. And like you said, we all thought we were going to get rich on PDP, the private fee for service, Medicare Advantage. That was just kind of a nuisance to us. We were almost in the beginning days, if you'll remember, kind of apologizing for it because what had built our side of the business anyway was Medicare supplement for the many, many years prior to 2005. So we almost felt like it was something we needed to apologize for. It's here if you want it, but we know you're going to still write the Medicare supplement. And then now look, today we're doing both.
It was funny because for us, it was a little bit different. We had just got started in the senior space.
Yeah.
So we had this very small book of Medicare supplements. So the 2001, in 2001 was the first time I got an award for Medicare supplement production, and it was for $1 million of production.
Oh.
And so, so I know it was the first one I had. My dad, gave me the ability to have the contracts in my name. So, So I appreciated that. And that was the first one that came through. And so 2001, we wrote 1 million, and then it kind of went up. But by the time Medicare Advantage came out, we were only probably 9 to 10 million of total book of business for
Yeah.
MedSups. And so we jumped into fee for service and said, man, this is going to be good. So it was an interesting time for sure.
Your company has probably done that since we've been on this call.
What's that?
Done 9 million.
Yes, for sure.
Somewhere along that line.
Yeah.
So walk us through then, where did the transition happen from dad kind of stepping aside, you coming in, Laura making her entrance in as well? How did all that work out?
Well, so it is a long story, but like the initial, what I would say out of the gate is, our dads, who both Laura and my dad, gave us a very fortunate platform to not only have a job, but then to try to be successful.
Oh.
And I think the one thing is I look at my kids and try to ultimately instill in them some of the things that he instilled in me is that, man, the difficult things that we do, the more we do them, obviously the easier they get. And two, the hard things that are done, if you do them well, a lot of people don't. So, I've heard in, different podcasts, even yours, that I think Dan said this, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And
we don't want it to be easy.
Yeah, there is this measure, this threshold, but he was somebody that really instilled in me that, man, you don't stop work until work's done. And the thing with owning your own business and trying to build a business is that the work's never done. Like for you and for me, I mean, for all of us, we could work 24 hours a day and put our companies on just an even larger growth scale than they are now. But him instilling that in me and obviously in Laura gave us the opportunity to really try to use that in different ways for the rest of our business. But we continue to do individual medical and group in the early 2000s. I got into the Medicare space and did Medicare. My dad and I kind of tag teamed it. He flew around the country. I flew around the country getting agents certified. And then really probably 2010, 2011, 2012, I think there was a time, and I forget the annual company meeting, but he had presented me with business cards and a little plaque that said President of Agent Pipeline. So, yeah. So that was a special moment for me because I knew everything that was going on with the company, but he was able to sneak that in somehow. So I didn't know that. But he's always been a mentor and continued to stay connected to the business and continue to help me, as I've run Agent Pipeline, or what now is Agent Pipeline. But we just continue to grow on the Medicare side, and slowly the individual medical and group started to drop off. And now we're back in the ACA under age 65 space a good bit, but but it's been, there's a lot of twists and turns, but nothing that no one else experiences.
Yeah, there's no scandal here. You're going to unveil that.
No scandal. No, it's been a fun journey for us.
What's it like? What's it like working side by side with Laura?
It's great. I mean, I think you get a chance to not only you get to have a chance to have someone you trust fully at your side, working together to try to grow a business. And I think that it takes time. I have people that have been with me for 15 years, and you get that same level of trust as you work with them over time. But obviously in the back of my head, whatever Laura's doing, I feel like she has my best interests at heart. Whatever I'm doing, I have her best interests at heart. At least I think so. But generally, that's the case.
I'll check with her.
Yeah, check with her. So that makes it easier. And I think even obviously working with my dad, that was a big piece because no matter what topic we were talking about or what we were trying to do with the company or what he wanted to do, at the end of the day, he had our best interests at heart as he was trying to help us grow and be better at what we were doing. So I think that's an advantage. And so it's good. It's great.
So your kids are still in their teen years, right?
Yeah, 15 and 17. So
15 and 17. So you're almost, is your daughter ready to graduate, or is she a junior?
No, she's a junior. Yeah, she's a junior, and she'll be a senior next year. Jake's a freshman, so he's 15. Yeah, so they're playing baseball, softball. We're in the middle of that sporting season, so it's great.
Everything,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So do they express any interest in the family business? Do they want to get as far away as possible? What
You
are
know,
their interests?
I don't know. I don't know if they know exactly what I do. Right.
Oh
So there's
yeah,
this,
my kids
yeah,
are grown and they still don't know
yeah,
what I do.
I would agree. And, so one, I don't know if they know. Um, and then two, I was really, as we went through our partnership with Integrity, and, I'm sure you see all these businesses that you work with year after year. And this is my 23rd or 24th year in the business. And we have seen businesses like that skyrocket for next generations. And when we see businesses that don't, they start falling
Mhm.
off. And so there's a dynamic there where, one, I'm not sure if they want to do it, right? And
Mhm.
number two, I'm not sure if they'd be good at it or not. And I thought, really for me, all I want to do is try to help them be successful
Oh,
in whatever they're passionate about. And I felt like in this partnership we have with Integrity that I can do that in any business they want to do. If they want to
yeah.
open up a camp for foster kids, or they want to, do a sports medicine clinic, let's go do that. Don't worry about what I've been doing the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and
that's
I
very
would
cool.
probably be too hard on them anyway, and it would just cause
Probably
it would
not.
cause a I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe.
No,
So
I'm the exact same way. We've got 3 kids, all in their 20s, and they couldn't have a single interest in what
yeah,
mom does.
yeah,
But they're all in the field that they have a passion about, that they've always wanted to do, and that they love doing. So to
sure,
me, that's much, 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 much better than me trying to twist their arm to come here. And like you said, the fun part for me now is they're adults and getting into their lines of work and getting deeper into their industry. We can do that. We can sit down and help them.
no,
It's
sure,
funny, the calls I get now that make me the happiest are when my kids call and say, "Hey mom, let me run the situation past you. Or, I had this happen. What would you
yeah,
or have you ever had this
yeah,
situation?" I'm like, that's all I want. That's the greatest conversation. That's the greatest phone call ever.
yeah, yeah. I definitely look forward to those. I get some of them now, but at 15 and 17,
It's
they're
about
still
23, they'll start
yeah,
calling again with
yeah,
that they might think I think you get what is it they say when the kids are little, you're like Superman and you're the smartest person in the world.
yeah,
As they get
yeah.
preteens, you're the dumbest person in the world. And then it does come back when they're about 22-ish, I would say, is when they start thinking, you know what, maybe mom and dad weren't so far off after all.
That's good. I pick it up sometimes. It's funny. My daughter more than my son, but both of them. A lot of times we'll have like mentoring sessions, that's quote unquote, but
Yeah.
in the car ride, right? And I
Yeah.
know,
Oh, those are the
and
best.
what happens? They'll be sitting beside me, and we'll get onto some topic, leadership or work ethic or just ethics in general. And then I'll see Chloe like take her phone and point the camera at me, like like Dad, you're getting into another one of these, like
Oh God.
yeah. So it's just kind of funny, but yeah. So I
That's
think
awesome.
yeah. So they're doing that more out of joking, other than
Of course.
true
Of
appreciation. So yeah,
there was a phrase that I heard a long time ago that, I think has been one of the guiding forces to help me be as good a parent as I can possibly be, which is if you're not there to have the small conversations with them, they're not gonna come to you for the big
that's
conversations.
true. Very true. Yeah.
So talking about random things throughout their day, their tests, their sports, their friends, the TV show they're watching. You may feel like, I know this isn't you, but some parents may feel like that's not important to me right now, or I'm not going to check in with them
Yeah.
right now. And then they wonder why they didn't come to him with the big stuff. And so I've always,
Hmm.
I've always remembered that and tried to keep that in the back of my mind that even now, as they're all grown and left the nest, we'll still share texts about shows we're watching on Netflix or
Yeah.
just silly things about that happened at work in their life. I'll share silly things that happened at work in my life. New restaurant opens it, just silly things like that to where that connection is still there to where when the big stuff does come around, you want them to be able to have that comfort level.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
have
There's a dynamic that, like, especially the kids, they're 15 and 17, and even the last few years. But the one thing I'm a big proponent of is kids, especially my kids, experiencing difficult challenges, adversity, and even failure right now. And
Mm.
whether it's like in sports, with teachers, with coaches,
Yeah.
with a car accident, I mean, as long as everybody's safe, nobody's hurt. The real big challenges in life, I mean, you're going to run into those, in your 20s, and I think it's good to experience that right now because you get a chance to learn. They get a chance to learn more about themselves, and I
Yeah.
think that's important, and how they overcome it, how they feel as they go through it, and so sometimes you have the term of helicopter parent, or somebody going out to try to help a kid, either
Yeah.
A, make a team, or B, get a starting position. I'm like, just let them figure it out. They're going to be okay. Even if they
Yeah.
don't make the team, even if they don't get a starting position,
All right.
they're going to learn if they really want to do it or not. So,
One of the funniest lessons, I've probably shared this on here before, but when our son was little, just starting in T-ball, he had signed up for an additional team in the fall that he didn't normally play with. And it was not the best of the teams. And
yeah.
so they were losing every game. And third or fourth or fifth loss, he's just dragging himself to the car. He's just a little guy, like 6 or 7 probably at the time. And my husband's trying to like pump him up and give him all this, life lesson. And one of the things he said, son, you're going to learn a lot more about life from losing than you'll ever win about winning. He's like, Dad, I've learned my lesson. We've lost enough. I want to start winning.
Yeah, that's
So there
great.
does come a
That's
time
awesome.
when the
Yeah,
lesson learned. Okay, let's move on.
that's fantastic. It
Ah,
is.
so you mentioned integrity. So that is
Yeah,
definitely a home now, home base for both of us. We get to share that partnership now, and
sure.
and
Yeah,
been able to do things in my own career, my own life, with our own company, and now with everybody else that's joined on the integrity platform too. Things that I never would have imagined, to be possible, or things that I would have always maybe just kept over here in this little box. Now we get to share. You probably are the ambassador, if you will, of I just came up with that, by the way.
yeah, I
I'll
like
send it
that.
to
I'll
Brian.
yeah,
I'll send
we'll
it to
add that
Brian.
in.
You have definitely shown that your passion is for bringing others onto the platform, but yet then when we're all here together, what's the goal here, is to learn and to
Sure.
share and
Yeah.
to grow with each other. But what has to you personally, what is joining the integrity platform done, and what do you look forward to?
Well, so I think the biggest thing, and this is the thing that I tell people I tell everybody this, is that the biggest thing I didn't expect was how close partners became once they were partners.
Mhm.
And I think you and I have been friends for years, and same with Dan and obviously everybody else in our industry. But there's this dynamic where we're all running our own
Yeah.
companies and we're really trying to compete with each other and outsmart Joanne or outsmart, Ryan or whatever. And I feel like I did that on an island for so long.
Mhm.
And you get all the input you can get, but you're still on this island.
Yep.
And the dynamic of being a partner with other folks that you have new experiences with, you're able to not only share what you've been successful at and how you've handled different challenges, but you get a chance to absorb that from other folks. And I think that energy has been big for me. And as we back to, I mean, the ambassador may be the wrong word, but it's just
I
like
think
it's
it'll
easy to
stick.
share. Yeah, that's true. It's easy to share because like there's no more true feeling than being able to connect with people,
Yeah.
and that connection that you have with folks becomes kind of core. Oh, the human connection, love
And
that. Yeah, I insert that. Yeah,
you
but
fed right into that. Good
I
job.
did. But that connection point's important,
Yeah.
and I think we as people need that from each other. And when we get to a different level with somebody, and we're able to have that real heart-to-heart conversation, even if it's in a business environment, you become much stronger together. And I've loved that about integrity.
Yeah. We came on, well, we both came on. Well, you came on like literally weeks before COVID shut the world down.
Yeah,
We came
yeah,
on in June, after I think you were January or February, I think,
yeah.
of 2020. Yeah. That we came on in June. So that was, and I've shared this story with you before, Ryan, but watching from the outside looking in through, watching my friends join the partnership, and being able to be at these events together, and I'm seeing this, and my mind is just going 1,000 different directions, that my God, I want to be there. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
then we finally get the deal done, and it's COVID and the world shut down and we can't go see anybody. And So
Very true.
it was definitely, which might have even, again, hindsight, might have even been the best of ways to do that too, because we were kind of able to ease our group into being a part of the integrity, ease into getting to know each other
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
Zoom and everything else. That when we do get together, then it's even better than maybe it would have been, like anything else. You always want what you can't have, and grass always looks greener, and all of that, right?
It's like a long distance relationship. If you've ever been in one, it's like
Exactly.
when you see each other, like this is
This
fantastic,
is awesome.
So
Yeah.
I think I mean, and then to the point, with COVID created so many good things, and
Yeah.
obviously there are some bad things that came with it. But this podcast, technology, even the stuff that we do here,
Yeah.
has really been generated by COVID, or at least the need to connect
Yeah.
differently. So I've enjoyed that part of it, and you try
Yeah.
to make the best of a bad situation. So it's like you just keep going down the road, and
That's right.
it all works out.
That's right. Is there something, and I'm gonna hit you with a big one here. Is there
No,
something in your career that you haven't done yet that you're still looking forward to? Some big milestone you haven't hit?
from an insurance business
Ah,
standpoint,
or what do you want to do in your next life? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. So I will say, coming out of college or going into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. None. And I guess I take that back. One of the things that I always wanted to be I wanted to work for the Secret Service. So I wanted to be like in that protection,
There you go.
CIA. And it was a reason I never got a tattoo on senior week, because I heard a rumor that if you had identifying markings on your body, it was harder to get into the CIA or Secret Service. I
That's
know
hilarious.
it's crazy, but I remember an opportunity to get a tattoo, and I
Your mom and
did
dad
that.
probably told you that. I don't know that that's
Maybe.
true.
Maybe. Yeah, I would have had a shark tattoo on my ankle.
I'm
But
sure.
fortunately it didn't happen. But that was one thing that I really wanted to get into that. And
Huh,
it was
very
probably
cool.
more of not knowing, what to get into.
Yeah.
Obviously I went to college for a business degree. My dad wanted me to be an accountant. He thought I could run the books for the agency. And got to accounting too, and I was like, I just don't know that I can do this. Not that accounting's not cool and great, but I just couldn't stay focused. And I would say too, back then, I was probably more reserved or more
Yeah.
introverted. I mean, I still get those feelings today, but yeah, accounting wasn't for me. So got into business, and then
Yeah.
after you kind of explore what you need to do or be, or how to work and how to read people, all that became like, man, this is easy. I love it. So that was so to
That's
maybe
cool.
answer your original question. I don't know that I don't have anything else I wanted to, other than continue to help
Yeah.
people, and both Agent Pipeline and other partners and other agencies in the business. So,
Keep spreading that. So I did the same thing with accounting. So I went into
oh, really?
school
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
business major, took accounting 1, accounting 2, and then about halfway through accounting 2, I went to my advisor and I said, "Okay, what's the next best degree I can get in business that doesn't have," because you look at your trajectory of what to get a business degree is, and there's accounting, what, 1, 2, and 3, and then
Yeah.
cost
Yeah.
accounting, there's finance accounting. It's like, okay, I need no more accounting classes. Give me a
Yeah.
business degree that I can do without that.
So I
And
took
what are we
accounting.
doing now, Ryan?
Yeah.
We deal with numbers all day long.
Well, yes, but we're not balancing spreadsheets or
No,
whatever.
no,
But
no, no, they don't let
yeah,
us near that.
I took accounting 2 twice, and after the second time, I was like, yeah, this is
Because you just
probably
wanted to,
this.
you
Yeah, it was
loved it
like,
so much.
why not try to do a little bit better this time? And so, but this is a thing that I would say for everybody, for my kids too, is that I was a very average student. I mean, all the way up until my second year of college. And that's why I took accounting 2 twice. But but being an average student, like I guess I just really didn't have like what I wanted to do and where
Yeah.
I wanted to go. And then I decided to transfer from a local school down to Liberty University down in Virginia. And this was going into my second semester of my sophomore year. And something just clicked. I was like, okay, I need to take this more serious. And then from that point forward, great student, graduated with a few honors. Fortunately, but it was more of an accident. But I say that to say that, man, kids, and like, you don't have to know what you want to do at 17. You
Yeah.
don't have to know what you want to do at 22.
Right.
And honestly, my dad was a super successful business person for AT&T for years. And and part of his story is that like he started his whole career life over at 41. At 41, built this business, and
Is
so
there?
really at any age you can kind of like go out, and as long as you're committed to it, you can make things happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I love that. So you
yeah,
mentioned earlier when we were talking that you're a big podcast lover, you're a big podcast guy. You don't have to share all
yes,
of them, but where
yes,
do you go? Is there one that you go to just check out? Is there one that you go to for inspiration? Is it more of a day to
yeah.
day? You just enjoy a particular person on there, but what podcast do you like to go to?
So I've got a bunch of different podcasts that I definitely listen to, and then so a couple of things I'd say as I've done podcasts and listened to them, I have found that I really enjoy listening to people talk about big subjects.
Okay.
Like there are big subjects that either a Stanford professor or a Harvard attorney or just people who are being interviewed to talk about this big dynamic. And
Mhm.
so I find a lot of that. And I also find a lot of finance podcasts that I listen to that are more geared towards not like daily finances, but more like this is how money works. This is how like the whole financial side works. And maybe to back up, it's not how money works so much, but it's how businesses work. And I think the one thing that I've been really drawn to as I've continued in the career is understanding how businesses work and how they do what they do, and how not just like how do you get a 500-degree steak out to a table that tastes fantastic, but how does it work from start to finish, and how does it all
Love
kind of
that.
build itself out? And so just being drawn to those types of understandings, it kind of draws me to most podcasts. So there's a podcast called the All In Podcast. It's all, it's all VC and tech guys that are doing
Okay.
investments. And there's others like, there's some other ones out there. So
I
they're all
like it.
good.
So that's
Yeah.
All In, you said? The All In podcast?
Yeah, it's the All In
Okay.
Podcast. It comes out every Friday or Saturday.
I like
So
that.
like you guys don't have to listen to the same podcasts that I listen to
No,
because yeah. Sometimes
I'm
they use
always
cuss words. I
hungry.
don't use cuss words, but sometimes they use cuss words. So don't
I
don't
know,
take
it's
that
like
ridiculous.
referring
Yeah.
a show that you like to a friend, then you're like, "But don't judge me. If you don't like it,
Yes.
that's don't judge me."
Exactly.
I got a lot of those
So,
shows I could share, but I'm like, I don't think I wanna
yeah,
tell everybody that I watched that.
yeah. But yeah, so in the car, working out,
Yeah.
it's all podcast, generally all the time. So,
Well, cool. Well, very good.
yeah,
Well, hopefully a human connection can make your rotating
it
list.
has. It has. It's great. It's fantastic. And just from the human connection, I know I need to add more leadership based podcasts
Oh, really?
onto my show, yeah, or onto my sequence. And I think
Yeah.
it's intriguing to listen to how other people not only grow up in a business, but grow up in this business, and
Yeah.
then where they find inspiration, how they find mentors, and how
Yep.
they find the things that get them to evolve to become what they are at any given point in time. Um,
Yep.
so getting those inputs you have a
Yep.
craving for it.
Anybody that ever asks whatever level of success I've had, what secrets or what would your advice be? Number one is always find a mentor. Find that person in your
Sure.
industry. It doesn't even have to be in your industry, but find that person in your industry, in your company, in your community, wherever it is, that's doing things that you admire, that you want to do, or
Yeah.
living in a way that you want to live, or speaking in a way that you want to speak, or being in places that you want to be. And then just find that person and hook your wagon if you can in any way, shape, or form. And I was lucky enough to have them right here in this
Yeah, for
company.
sure.
Many of my mentors were
Same
right
here.
here.
Same here.
So for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, I got to absorb that. It was like a master class that I didn't even
Hmm.
know I was learning, right? So hopefully you can now be that
Yeah.
for others as well. But that's always my first piece of advice is find a mentor, find that somebody that inspires you, and reach out in whatever way, become a part of their day-to-day world. What are they reading? What are they watching? What are they listening to? Because that, I believe that gets absorbed, and you find yourself following the path of what you're listening to, right? It's like we
Yeah.
tell our kids, careful who you watch and what you subscribe to online, whether it's social media or, watching YouTube or whatever. what you're taking in is really, you're really taking it in.
Yeah,
And
for
what
sure.
you hear all of a sudden becomes your thoughts, and we know what that leads to. So I always want to know what everybody's listening to, what
Yeah.
everybody's reading, and where you're going, and all that good stuff. So last question, what would you say is your perfect day? Like, you've got a day off, you've got a week off, whatever. Where are you going? What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't do that
Do you
very
remember
often.
what that's like?
I don't. I don't know what that is. I really enjoy. I mean, I do enjoy working, and I would probably, if it was a perfect day, if you had a week, you have family days, and then you have days you can break up between family and business. And I think part of the business that I enjoy the most is trying to help other businesses be successful, like trying to walk through business strategy and walk through what they are either doing or trying to accomplish. And at times, taking some of that and adding it to what we do, but most of the time it's trying to provide feedback and, like, here's a way to approach this challenge, here's how you can overcome this. And I think that if at the end of the day I look back and say, what was, like, what did you find that was super helpful to you? I think this is a short story of it, but I think if you're really good at reading people, and a lot of it is unintentional, you just kind of unintentionally read people, then you have this ability to one, bring people closer to connections, and then also help them in ways that they may not know. And I think that in this business, it's all about bringing people together. And the best example I give you, well, not the best example, because that makes it sound like it's great. So not the best example, but I find myself at meetings is that when we're having if you and I are having a conversation about something, maybe a difficult conversation or maybe an easy one, I will find myself unintentionally getting beside you, right? So right now we're face to face, right? And then all of a sudden you'd see me on your left side, and then we would be like looking at a room together, or having the same conversation, as opposed to being on two different sides of a thing. And I never put it together why I did it. It just kind of, that's what it would end up. And I felt like, now that I look back, is that just that nonverbal, unknown subconscious of trying to get on the same side with whoever I'm talking to is part of, like, this dynamic when you're trying to connect and bring people together and try to get things done, that people feel more comfortable if they're not looking at you face to face and you're on two different sides of whatever's happening in the middle, but you're in the same side looking out at a room or looking out at whatever it is. And I think that dynamic, like, maybe to make it short, but I was listening to a podcast. They talked about boxing. I don't know if I've shared this story with you or not.
I don't think
But
so.
no, so you get it today. So the boxing, they looked at Floyd Mayweather, and I may totally get this story wrong, but at the end of the day, he's like the fastest guy, right? He reads punches coming before anybody else does, and they have the computers that test how fast everybody is. And long story short is, they basically said that he has this reaction time that's really faster than his eyes can tell his brain what's happening. He's just reading this whole picture, and this whole picture is telling him to go one way or another, right? And I thought about that, and if I look at what you and I do, it's the same thing. Like I don't know why it's the right time to say what I'm getting ready to say, but this point in the conversation, or this nonverbal communication that somebody's having, is telling me it's time to talk about this, or I need to move beside you and have this conversation. And just that nonverbal cues that people have, there's definitely ones you see and you're like, okay, now it's time. But I also think there are moments in time where you don't know why, but you just do it. And that, I think, leads to maybe what you're really good at. So for me, I think, as I look back, one of the things that I've been good at is just being able to read people subconsciously, and that using that as part of trying to bring people together or help people out in some way. So it's just an interesting dynamic.
That's so cool. God, I'd love to have another hour just to dissect that whole conversation right there, because I think there's a lot of similarities to that, and just like you said, how you relate to somebody. There's all the sorts of the nonverbal communication is just as important as the verbal, right? Where you're sitting, how you're saying it is important as the words. So I love that whole, I've never noticed that, but I'm going to be watching you now.
Yeah, exactly. What's it?
Who's Ryan sitting next to? Okay, they must be having a good conversation.
Yeah.
He had to move in.
Yeah. The other thing too that I'll throw, because I think it's part of it, is I have this thing that I say, what's the difference between good kids and bad kids?
Okay.
Hmm. Have you ever asked you this before?
No, no,
Okay.
please tell me.
So the difference, and this is not the fringes, but the difference between good kids and bad kids is 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is that. So I say that to say, we all did the same things growing up. We all went to the same parties. We all probably made bad decisions, right? But whoever is determined to be a good kid, this is a quote unquote good kid, is they probably left the party 5 minutes earlier because they felt like, it's just time to go. Like something doesn't feel right. Or, there was a bunch of guys getting ready to get in a fight. And, the good kids who didn't get caught by the cops or didn't get caught doing something, they just felt like, it's time. And then the flip side, obviously the kids that got caught were coined, unfortunately, as bad kids, but they weren't really bad. They just didn't get that inner
5 minutes
feeling
late.
that it's time to go. It's time to move on to the next, like whatever it is. And I think at times that's not, obviously that doesn't work all the time. But
Yeah.
what I mean by that is that at times I feel like it's the right time. Like it's the right time right now for whatever it is. I think part of that's nonverbal communication, because you pick up on it and you read people. And I think that helps a lot. So that was a long way. That was a long way to get.
No.
Yeah,
It was well worth the destination of getting there, because I do think that that's super important, and it ties a nice bow around, I think, what we've talked about this whole podcast and what we've talked about every time
Yeah.
we do get together, which is the timing of everything, has worked out perfectly, whether we designed it that way or not. The timing of us coming on, the timing of some of the different events that we've been at, the timing of the shifts in our industry, the
Sure.
timing of look what's happening in our world over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
The world has changed. And I think those that slept through that or weren't aware of that or didn't leave 5 minutes early to be prepared,
Yeah.
they're still trying to figure out how to survive 2020. And here we were running around the country, flourishing. So there's a lot of different ways that you could take
Well,
that.
the conversation about what we talked about in 2005, which was the insurance industry evolving, and it went from more regional to national, and those who took advantage of national were able to be ultra successful, and some of the regionals continue to be successful. That happens, throughout years, or 2 or 3 years, or 4 or 5 years. So somebody is having this conversation now about something that you and I missed 2 years ago. And then in 5 years, it's gonna be like, Brian and Joanne just completely missed this deal. Now, it's probably more Ryan missing it than you, but there's that dynamic where everything changes. And I think we intersect time. You have things that are going through change, and you're going, and as soon as you intersect is what your understanding of that thing is. And as you change and the situation changes, it becomes this dynamic that ultimately leads to success or failure or whatever aspect of what we're trying to do. So
that 5-minute decision,
well,
I love it. No, I think
so don't stick that on me forever. I just think that's an interesting little play.
No, it is, and I'd love to dig into more, but we'll have to save it for next time. So
awesome. Thanks for having me on.
This has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you are very busy running your company and running all over the country, sharing the good news. So appreciate you taking some time out here to talk with everybody, but I look forward to seeing you real soon.
Yep. Sounds good, Joanne.
All right.
Good seeing
Thank you. Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Bye, Ryan.